art of speaking one's personal truth. And so, as the first harvest has come to pass and passes by, one is led into quieter times or downtime ahead, coasting with the fulfilling feeling that much has been cast and accomplished, as well the continued satisfaction from reaping come what may of this and that sown, and the welcome breeze, refined and refreshing, which always goes along with and precedes ye so-called dog days of August. For the next 2 weeks or lunar half-month period ushers in gentler times as we stride away from the giant nature of the past 3 half-month lunar periods whilst stepping into the more ethereal realms of dearly beloved Mother's Nature, when and where one gets to greet Her Majesty personally during summer's waning days and lunar bi-week ahead, from 8:13 to 8:29. This span is associated with breath, which in turn aptly issues from mouth and nostril. One hath arrived at a point of entry or exhalation, whence divinity happens, ye force that and or which effortlessly moves through every and all things seamlessly, after having experienced, learned about, practiced, and passed the prior examinations one has and or had been subjected to and moved through most recently as prerequisite pertains to the most basic and or basic of natural laws. 'Tis elementary one should know. And just as all things natural come and go in due time and season or sequence, her force, as in breath and or breathing, doesn't just animate life and keep it living. She gives one the power to draw upon and wield given force in the most constructive and creative ways currently, for the very sake of one's sentient and temporal growth and development itself. Word and deed not only go hand in hand, they are one and the same. Is thine word genuinely good enough? Does one walk the talk properly? Or art thou a couch potato referee? And just as it takes just the right or wrong amount of oxygen to power or suffocate a procedure or biological system, so too can one gain or lose the faculties, mental mechanisms, and processes presently in place and at play for doing just that here and now. Well within the span of this here lunar bi-week, especially, as can perceive and may see, this particular half-month period represents fundamental force and the complicated series of actions or steps, summons and writ, that must or need to be taken in order to achieve a particular end well within one's means or meaning. That is, if one really wants to make the most expertise use of what you got and get. In the beginning was the Word, is a phrase uttered in many varied ways to explain the first breath of many cultural creation stories, as is in birth as well, which is said to say how our shared reality was and is brought into being. On a less tangible note, and more in line with actuality, as in thinking or thought forms, is and or are the real precursors to reality itself. Again, mind ever being the builder of physical results. There's a reason why words are mightier than swords, for they hold far more power and sway over one's choices, as well as destinies or destinations, yea, even over the very star nations themselves, than sticks and stones ever could or can withstand. That very power is what makes life so unbelievably enticing, provocative, tantalizing, and tenacious. And so it is. In otherworldly words, coming into the knowledge of and embodying same makes one an incredibly powerful force to be reckoned with as a tool for change or for good and the better. Finding one's personal divinity via last half month's initiation, refer to 729's post, logically leads to the realization and or reality that everyone must eventually face as truth, and that is thine word, or what one says, is as divine as the food one eats that makes you so too. So, having muscled or slogged, as whatever case may be, one's way through the icky, prickly, or sticky thorns, shadows, impulses, and motivations instigated by nature of the past 3 giant half-month lunar periods, the time is nigh for calm and cool reasoning, which gives one clear ability and voice to aptly apply said desires, motivations, and processes most constructively in order to better focus one's true intent or intentions toward giving the increase all the more rise. However, that doesn't mean it'll automatically bring clarity or an innate understanding of and or to situations at hand. For nothing worthwhile ever comes cheaply or easy. Rather, 'tis a matter of work, endeavoring, and persevering. In essence, think before you act. Ascribing words to the weird, wild, and wonderful things within oneself is what this period is all about in terms of expressing one's desires, feelings, and inclinations. And if one doth not know what to say or draws a blank, well, then one goes nowhere from there, no doubt. And if one uses confusing or incorrect and or wrong words, well, one will be transmitting distorted or unclear information and hence garner unsought results. Indubitably, yet be not afraid, dismayed, nor dissuaded from speaking thine heart and mind, for all which is being asked of one is to choose thy words carefully and consciously, allowing and or permitting here or there, this or that, now or later, to be called out and spoken most appropriately after sufficiently percolating or incubating internally, lest one cause and effect and or affect dis-ease, nervousness, or neurosis, and yes, even undue suffering and or pain upon thee, if not unto others. So sorry to say, that's how the truth sets one free, and why love can be so bittersweet. Sometimes it hurts, sometimes it's tough, sometimes it bites, and sometimes it cuts like a knife, both ways no less. But that's because love is blind. See? Actively self-engaging thusly, basically or primarily, and certainly not passively, is how one comes to find the real and tangible kernels of truth and wisdom about whom thou art, what one wants, and thereby how to bring same forth into being, whilst engaging the guidance and support offered to do just that along one's very merry way, and more, as countless masters, gurus, and shaman alike have said and shown for eons before. Ideally, one should already have self-healed and released self. Again, refer to previous lessons given beforehand, because not only does this raise awareness of what one is capable of, it also shows and tells one what kind of work is required of own accord in order to mold, maintain, and sustain a given process or path in perpetuity. And it's absolutely not about taking a time out either. Nay, oh, perish the checked out thought. It merely has to do with turning within, where what's emphasized and what needs to be specified here and now is speaking one's truth with confidence, which the Vikings naturally saw and used to see as a form of personal divination or soothsaying anyway. When breathing the potent power of one's personal divinity, in combination with the delicate interconnectedness of inspired words and phrases, incantations, mantras, or prayers, etc., ad nauseum, be it by thine mind's eye or corporeal mouth, they become as spells, yea, to the degree of prophetic poetry in motion, like the bards of yore used to do, or ye language of the sages. To be sure, 'tis the tipping point and fulcrum between being a divine being on the inside, living in one's own world, and being a temporal being on the outside, living an albeit shared experience with other such sentient beings and entities. And though one can't have one without the other, a life lived strictly or nonchalantly, ascetically or ecstatically, constantly, as in from escapisms to trances or in addiction of something or other, the whole lot of them are nothing but egotistical internalizations, utterly insufficient of sustaining life, let alone feed it properly. Not to mention it being utterly neglectful and selfish. Yet neither is this lunar half month informing one that a balance must be struck. In fact, what beloved Mother Nature is teaching and or telling and or tutoring us to do, one and all no less, is how to bring that divine being into the world at large, where we're meant to explore and live life, not covet nor suppress it. And the one and only surefire way on Earth or in space and time to do just that is to engage and express oneself explicitly. It's imperative or a dire need, for this and that is what life was really meant for, and why one purposefully keeps coming back for more, as in reincarnating. So make love, not war. And if so, do so fucking well it hurts. For long suffering is the greatest teacher and master key to it all. Each and every test, trial, and tribulation is merely the initiation process of and or for gaining higher consciousness or greater awareness. And if at first one doth not succeed, as ye fond saying has gone and goes on, try again. hence rhyme and reason why history repeats itself until it's ingrained, while said experiences simultaneously informs our basic and innate instinct and intuition. Got it? And such is this part of the season's cyclical message, every year thusly said, according to the calendarized staves of the Elder Furthart. Uh, why do you think they called it the Summer of Love back in 1968? What a time to have been conceived, for this just so happens to be the period when spells hold the most might, power, and sway, and ye magical combination for releasing and or unlocking and inviting what one wants or needs is to first and foremostly realize and understand everything one says or thinks has a and or an indirect and or direct impact upon the rest of the world. So choose and say thy words most wisely. Otherwise, one must know, be in the know, or knowing, or trust in synchronicity to guide thee most organically as to how, what, where, and or when to speak, or evoke the most appropriate and potent words. There, that's the secret to verbal alchemy. Yet be careful, forewarned and wary. Wielding such power indiscriminately is like a child playing with fire. So take said responsibility seriously. Yes, lest you get burned or cause a fire. And for fuck's sake, watch what you wish for. For we're talking about intense, archaic energy here. And that's some powerful shit. For just as the cooler weather naturally follows the first or earliest harvest, so too is this the time when words are most empowered and empowering, setting one's expectations for what's to come what may. Then again, such is the nature of this native time of season for the spoken word. Go figure. So blossom and bloom while you still can. ANSU.